Welcome in to a Monday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Every day online, GEAUX, Chevrolet.com. You can find them online and as well in LaPlace, Louisiana. Right here in Baton Rouge for Go Express Auto Sales, GEAUX, Chevrolet.com. Jam-packed show this morning. We're going to talk to LSU's newest commit, Tavion Galloway, the four-star tight end out of Ohio. Committed to LSU over the weekend. Four-star guy. Has committed to LSU for a future class, and then we will talk to Josh Pate coming up here at 8:30 this morning. Looking forward to talking to Josh Pate. Had some really good conversation with him last week over at SEC Media Day, but some stories that are starting to bubble up within college sports. Looks like it's imminent that the death of the NCAA is going to happen faster than it will later. We will tell you about a couple of the stories that happened over the weekend that it looks you can go ahead and put the death nail into the NCAA as it looks as if it is a dead man walking. LSU is set to report to training camp next week. We are going to talk to Cortez Hankton coming up here. I believe on Wednesday, Coach Hankton's going to be here, which will clean up the rest of the assistants over at LSU. Really looking forward to talking to Coach Hankton as he's had tremendous success on the recruiting trail over the last couple of weeks since landing on the job. And, of course, now going into fall camp. We'll ask him about his position group after talking to Coach Kane in the defensive line. Everybody's talking about the wide receivers in what Coach Hankton has. So we're looking forward to talking to Coach Hankton coming up here later on this week. Make sure you hit that like button, share button, comment button. We appreciate all of the support and all of the interaction. If you have not subscribed to the page, make sure you hit the subscription and notification button so you know when we go live. Katie is here. The Carpool Queen is here. Lloyd is here. Yeah. Stewie is here. We are also Bree is here. Great job last night on Clout Demons. Yes. If you have not already done so, make sure you are following Clout Demons on social media, on YouTube. Bree, you got a microphone over there? Yeah. Anything hooked up? So you can make sure and follow them on YouTube, and that'll be every Sunday night. You can check out Clout Demons. And y'all had, who'd y'all talk to last night? A couple of the Tiger Girls?
Yeah. We talked to some of the Tiger Girls last night. They're the... Huh?
Should have been in the studio, dude. That was my chance.
I was. They're the only team at LSU to win a national championship within the last year. And they are the D1A hip-hop national champions. They weren't allowed to compete in 2021 because they didn't have an athletic trainer, and the school kind of came up with excuses for COVID and all kind of other stuff. So they weren't able, them and the cheer team weren't able to go to nationals and be able to compete. And that's like one of their main things they focus on. Like they're working on dances for games and appearances that they go to sometimes 3-4 times a week, but they're also preparing multiple dances for nationals. And they were able to go to nationals this past year and really tell a story. They danced to Like a Boy by Sierra to kind of send a message that like they're just as much as athletes as the football team, the baseball team, the gymnastics team, because they practiced like just as much and stuff. And so we had 2 seniors come on the show, one of them being a captain, and they kind of shared like their struggles with that. One of the girls, she was really involved with the administration to kind of like fight for their place in LSU, and they went viral on TikTok. Everybody was doing their dance after they won. Like everybody kind of felt their message. So it was a really, really good conversation with them. I think it was like a 30-minute conversation. So it went really well, and they were just so happy to be here. And, you know, we also talked about a lot of other stuff, like all kind of sports, from track world championships going on. Mondo broke another record last night. Aaliyah Armstrong finished 4th in worlds. And then, I mean, we ranked the new NFL alternative helmets. And then we spent the latter half of the show talking college advice. I mean, with the exception of Ron, we're all seniors, and Ron's going into his junior year. So we gave a lot of college advice and kind of just talked about life on campus, the do's and don'ts of stuff like that. So we have a kind of a different angle than all the other shows because we are all college students. So we want to get kind of like those views of like college students to kind of have something to relate to. Because there's not a lot of like big college podcasts. And I think it's a good outlet for people to watch and to tune in. It's still building, it's still growing, but it's a good thing that's going to come out of this if we just keep going, and we have a lot of fun stuff planned. So
people can go back to YouTube and go to Cloud Demons channel.
Of course, the Cloud Demons
there.
channel, it just started, so we're like trying to get some subscribers, trying to get some viewers, and then our social media as well. I think it's like Cloud Demons with 2 Z's and _ on Instagram and Twitter. We're going to start building up our TikTok as well, because that's a big platform for our demographic, and trying to build up those YouTube subscribers too. So, I mean, anybody can watch Cloud Demons, even though like our kind of target audience is college students. So, like tune in to Cloud Demons every Sunday at 7:30. Anything you want to hear, we probably got it for you.
More programming options for you over here from FM Digital Media. Make sure you're subscribed to all the YouTube channels, whether it's Clout Demons, Mic'd Up with Mikey Matuk, Rose Show, Where My Dog's At, all of those under the FM Digital Media right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. If you have not subscribed to all of them, make sure you just search them on YouTube, on all of your social media, and keep up with what's going on. Mic'd Up is scheduled to go 6 o'clock this afternoon. We got a little bit of a flea problem.
Oh, God. Are you going to talk about this?
I mean, we have to.
I didn't know you were going to tell
That's what makes
people.
the show great, is that we're an open book.
This is not great.
I thought they
Got a
were
little
fruit
something.
flies.
We got the
I
every
saw
other
it
week we
too.
got a little cleaning crew that comes through here, and she's great. And I say crew. She's
One of one.
She's a solo. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not a crew.
She's solo.
Sweet woman.
The crew is me texting her, can you come clean? And she comes to clean.
She's great, and she came in and she called on Friday, and it sounded like she found a dead body.
I know.
When she called me.
Oh, the
Yeah.
fraternity
like,
house.
She texted me.
She was like, "Hey,
That's how every conversation you want it to
are
hear.
you
It's like,
busy?"
hey.
And I'm like,
What?
"No, I mean I can be.
I'm about to be.
Yeah, right. You're scaring me. Why? What's up?" And she's like, "I don't have good news." And I was like, "Oh my God, like what's going on? Like spill it."
Yeah.
You know, like what's up?
You're bearing the lead.
And she's like, "I'm cleaning the bathroom, and I think that there's a flea problem." Like, that's it? I'm like, all right, we can deal with that.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, we can deal with that.
Unless you found
But-
a dead body.
You really
yeah,
can't
yeah,
tell.
yeah.
Hey, dude, if we got one, just bring it across
Might
the
be the
street.
fleas.
Yeah, just bring it across
There
the
was
Yeah,
one
I
on
don't
my
know.
arm on Friday, but I thought
We just
like
moved
you
in.
thought it was a fruit fly. I just flicked it off
We're
because I
just
thought
here. We just
it's not
moved here.
free.
Yeah, it's
The
not,
body's not
my
on us.
fault. Yeah.
The body's not on us.
Whatever's here was here before we got here.
So they're coming to bomb the place out at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Are
They
they
I
say-
saw one on the LSU helmet last night.
Oh God.
No, they're
I got
everywhere.
scared,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to like kill it on air, and everybody's like, "Oh, like what's going on over
yeah,
there?"
no, we got a flea problem.
least
we
the
got,
tiger
we got
girls
an
weren't at
issue.
you.
We got
Yeah.
an issue.
I know. I
Hey,
was
still could've
panicked.
been
They were
here.
gonna walk out of here with bites all over them. Like that's why
Probably
I
in
texted
class
them.
today, itching their head.
Oh, stop.
Left that damn
That's
studio.
nice.
Are they going to
mentioned.
tint it?
I don't
No,
know.
no,
man.
no. They just come in and they set off a bomb, like a couple of them in here. They don't have to tent it, but you
Okay.
can't be in here for 3 hours. Like people or pets.
Joseph?
I mean,
I think he's immune.
Joe,
Yeah, right. Joe's a cockroach, man.
there's probably a lot
right.
of people immune up
He'll
in here.
he'll survive the nuclear war.
No doubt.
No, I mean,
He's
it'll
not
be
a real person.
cockroaches, Russians, and Joe.
So we called a pest control person, and they were going to come yesterday, but they had a conflict. But they will be here today.
Yes.
But we need some regular pest control if anybody's interested out
We
there.
do. If you are if you're looking to get your pest control name out there,
Yeah, come on.
easy to get in touch with us over here at the
You know where
Jordy
to find
Culotta Show.
us.
That's right.
We got fleas.
Remember our friends over at RMB, rmbbuilders.com, rmb-builders.com is where you can get in touch with Rhett and his crew. If you're looking to custom design a home, if you want to get in touch with Rhett today about some rebuilding, some remodeling, some restoration around the house, commercially licensed as well over there at RMB, rmb-builders.com, rmb-builders.com. Travis McGraw, can't wait to go find it and listen. Talking about Clout Demons, came across mic'd up videos with Sean Ochinko, and they are hilarious.
Ochinko was unreal.
Well, I mean, he's a master storyteller.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's I don't know
is-
why he's not on the show every time.
I mean,
He
sitting with
should be
his
there every-
sitting with his legs crossed.
Just dip in.
I mean, it looks like he should have a cigar and brandy in his hand. I mean, it was unreal how good that story
It's great
was.
Pulmonary impression, too. And he's
it's Sneaky Maneri is so it's good.
know,
He just kind of works it in. Yeah, right. 5 whole beers, Sean. 5 whole beers. Can you believe it? Because can't you see Maneri
has no clue about what drinking is. Like
Chad Jones, just
know,
throwing Chad Jones under the bus.
Man, I don't think
you had 2 blunts last night, bro.
Chad, you crossfaded.
Yeah, right.
Then he goes, well, Coach, I mean, you don't just drink half a beer then order another one. He goes, 5 whole ones. I do them all at once.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, Paul Maneri just like, he doesn't understand what we're doing over here. That's okay. I'll take it. I'll wear it. He's like, Chad, I thought we were good, dude.
Yeah, so it's great, man. You get stories like that with Ochinko. You also, that's where the Patrick Queen story happened with Joe Burrow, told that story that everybody has been feasting on. And as good an inside on LSU baseball that you will find, I'm telling you, it has got to be the resource for LSU baseball going into next season. If you have not seen just the players and the way that they have responded to the show, the way that Coach Jay Johnson is comfortable on the show. Wes Johnson made his debut as LSU's pitching coach for the first time publicly on Mic'd Up and Mikey's show. So a lot of good stuff happening over there with Mic'd Up. Make sure and check him out. Clout Demons Row Show, Where My Dog's At, which is coming up on Thursday night. All right, so some stuff happened on Friday, and obviously we were getting back from SEC Media Day. We had gotten back on Thursday evening, so Friday was our first day back, and Brad Davis came through here, and Coach Davis was fantastic. He sat down for nearly 50 minutes with us, gave us insight on the season, recruiting, coming back home, what his room looks like this year, and some of the youngsters like Will Campbell and Emory Jones and the impact that they are set to make on LSU here immediately in their freshman season. And the Tigers open up training camp next week, so we'll be out there and we'll be talking all about it as soon as they go live. But some stories happened over the weekend, and we touched a little bit on it on Friday when we came back with Shay. If you want to go back and check that recruiting conversation out, with the preseason votes coming out with LSU, which we'll get to, but also a NCAA rule that was being amended and looks like it's going to happen, and it's set around the transfer portal. And it looks as if the transfer portal will not only be now a one-time transfer that all student athletes can go into. It will be multiple. You can do it every single year you're on campus. So you need to get ready for a specific athlete playing 4 years at 4 universities. That's what potentially can happen here.
That's nuts.
I'm kind of in favor of it, and I'm in favor of it because of this. And it's also something that happened on Friday that didn't get a lot of run in this part of the country, but around college football, it's an enormous story. And if you were paying attention to college football, this is something that is going to have ripples and waves that affect the sport. Last week, some student athletes at Penn State met with Big Ten officials and ultimately got a meeting with Kevin Warren, who is the commissioner of the Big Ten, and they did not call themselves a union. They were very guarded and protected in making sure that they did not use the term union. But when you looked up when you look up the term of a group of people representing interest, and you've got spokespersons and spokespeople for that group. It kind of feels like a union. But ultimately, Big Ten student athletes went into Big Ten offices and said, with the new media deal coming, which, look, they bring in UCLA, they bring USC, those numbers are now public on what they're going to be expected yearly to be making. I mean, it's the money is ridiculous. There's enough money to make sure that everybody gets paid. The programs, the schools, the facilities, the coaches, everybody that's making money right now, their lifestyle will not change. You're only going to have the ability now to pay the players. And I think that that's about to happen. And I think that the SEC looks at what's happening in the Big Ten and understands that that's probably going to happen within their league as well when they get their new media deal here in a couple of years. That's going to be, around $1 billion a year probably. And the Big Ten has that type of funding, that type of capability with their financial resources and their television contracts to be able to pay all athletes within their conference a specific and stipend amount of money. And I think that once this gets regulated to the degree and there is enough rules set in place where, yeah, look, you can go transfer to a different school, but if you leave here, you're not going to make anything significantly different than you have the ability to make where you're already at. Let's say you're in the SEC in a couple of years, or you're in the Big Ten in a couple of years, and you sign your letter of intent to go to Ohio State, UCLA, USC, or Rutgers, whoever it is. And there's a $40,000 a year contract that comes with that. If you're a football player, it'll change on sports, right? But what the television deals now give the opportunity to do to these super leagues, the SEC and the Big Ten, which ultimately I believe will be the two that end up kind of rising to the top. They're already there, but they're going to be the only two really that exist, in my opinion, especially from a football standpoint, as super conferences, when you're talking about 25 to 30 teams per league, and then, you know, the winners of those two leagues play each other at the end of the year for a national championship stake. But they also have collective bargained agreements built in place that a player side and the presidents and commissioner, Greg Sankey for the SEC, Kevin Warren for the Big Ten, have all agreed upon, to where everybody's playing on an even playing field. The money's the same. You can go to Penn State or you can go to USC and you're going to get paid this by the league. Anything above that is on you, which is why USC is going to have an advantage still in an NIL world, because they're in Los Angeles. But from the standpoint of, building a union from a player side, having representation on the conference side, having those two collectively meet, bargain on agreements, and have that set into, legislation and law to where it's agreed upon, a lot like the NFL, like we talked about last week. I mean, that's what the schedule structure is moving towards. For as awesome as the Southern game is going to be in Baton Rouge or at LSU in week 2, where, Southern's coming down to South Baton Rouge and they're bringing the tailgating and the experience, the band, the entertainment, all of that. It's going to be a great weekend of football celebration and, just South Louisiana culture on display at Tiger Stadium, which will be cool to see. But 2 years from now, that game's not going to exist. The game's not going to exist because television executives and, high-level suits and mustaches aren't going to let that happen. There's too much money on the line to have, no disrespect, throwaway games. When you have in your own league now countless amounts of brands and programs that you can square off every single Saturday, and it's must-watch television. And it's must-watch football. A lot like the NFL is.
It's becoming the NFL.
It is
That's
the
what's
NFL.
where does academics fall into this? Does anyone care?
No, nobody
Gives a
cares.
hoot.
I
We
mean,
ain't
but
here
you
to play
got
school.
and
We
how
ain't
do
here
you
to play school.
transfer
Yeah.
that many times and keep up academically? How do you transfer your credits? How do you end up graduating? That's
Brian Kelly probably
really
couldn't be
muddy.
happier. Imagine trying to deal with this at Notre Dame, where academics do kind of still matter.
Well, that's what I mean.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Lots
I feel
of
like you know
schools
what
are
this
like
is
that.
now at this point. Like, you kind of know where college football is trending, and it is like the minor leagues of the NFL, and school is whatever they want it to be.
It's taking a back burner.
It's always has.
They don't care about school.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Like they used to.
I mean, we could have debated this in the 80s.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
this is not a dirty secret.
You think
But you're
I
you
didn't
think
care
they were
about
really
school.
caring
From
if
somewhere.
Shaquille O'Neal was going to class?
Right. I mean,
You know what I mean? Do you think they were really following around these stars to make sure they were going? I mean, back when they weren't checking classes, somebody was just taking their exams for them.
Right.
Now it's just gotten to a degree of
Derrick
just
Rose.
being real with it. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, like,
But you're still trying to graduate. Or
absolutely.
Most of them
No,
are,
I
with a
think
degree,
that look,
and
the
it's
majority
hard.
of the majority of the athletes that come to college
We're going to go
for
pro in something other than sports.
athletics are not going to be right. They're not going to be professional athletes, and I think at some point you have an understanding with yourself of reality in athletics. I mean,
Yeah.
if you go play in a locker room with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Grant Delpit, and Joe Burrow, you look around and say, you know what I mean? That ain't me.
going, bro.
You know what I mean? I better get my degree. I
Right.
better learn how to sell real estate. You know what I mean?
That's
I
what
better.
I mean. Where does this come into play?
Well, I
Later.
mean, I think that it's a minor league football system
Yeah.
that allows you to get a degree. If you're good enough to come in here and make it to the league, the place is built for you. But it also gives you the opportunity of, look, you can get educated.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you understand that, I mean, let's say you're Joe Burrow's roommate, and I can't play, but I say, hey Joe, I'm going to go and get my master's in finance and business management, and I'll be your representation,
Yeah.
and I'll just handle your contracts for the rest of your career. Well, you're a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just off the relationships that you made by playing college football alongside some superstar, and I got to get my degree on the program's back.
Right.
Right? So I mean, to whatever player that is, that's a huge benefit.
Yeah.
So I mean, I still think that there is a value to the education, but let's not kid ourselves and say that it's always been about the education primarily.
Yeah.
No, that's
Right?
just, that was
Right.
just that was the straw man for the NCAA to be able to say, look, instead of us paying you, this is what you get.
Yeah.
You get books, you get an education, and they touted it up as it was. An education is important to some
Right.
people, but that was their way to say, look, instead of us paying you, look at what you get. And now it's totally flipped where everybody realized, like, are you kidding me? Look at how much money is being coming in off of
For me.
of
Yeah.
name, image, and likeness. Like, I did this. Like, we did this. And so now that it's kind of come to a head, it's all tipped the other way. The education is going to be put on the back burner, like, obviously. And that's just where they are. And it's how it probably always has been. But now it's just at a forefront. You'll have conversations like that where people are going, wait, what happened to education? Like, we never really cared about that.
Yeah.
It was just a fake. Like, it was a straw man so we could have.
You know, and I don't think that it's fake. You know, I mean, I really do think that
Some people take it seriously.
The graduating champions thing for LSU that Brian
Yeah.
Kelly is really selling the program on is real.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, I
it's
think that
important.
inside the living room, he's making sure and stressing to the parents and to the guardians and to the people that are, you know, responsible for overseeing, you know, these kids, these young players that, hey, look, man, he's probably not going to make it to the league. He might, but in the meantime, he's got to be educated and on track to graduate.
Exactly.
Right? And I think there still is that what that does more than anything for an athlete is that it builds structure
Right.
in your life. I mean, it builds discipline. It keeps you on a routine. It keeps you on, you know, it keeps you on a goal. It keeps you motivated. It keeps you focused. So, I mean, the coaches use it for a lot more than being able to say we graduate champions. I mean, they do it overarchingly to say that in recruiting, but they also do it to make sure that they stay out of trouble and they stay on a schedule.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that there's a huge value to it, but it's just also now kind of refreshing to see and understand it really for what it is.
Right.
It's always been this.
I know, right,
You know what I mean? Like
right.
it really has always been this. It's just been so covered up by the NCAA of, you know, what has proven to be just,
A farce.
yeah, very much so. I mean, a house of cards, really. I mean, something that means, come on, what have we been doing for so long?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've been signing up for this? I mean, this has been the regulation, some of the things that, I mean, it's just a good old boys club that
Yeah.
makes a ton of money and separates it and just tries to cover it up with boards and meetings. You know, I mean, it's your regular corporation. You know, I mean, it's what you see every day.
Yeah.
But now they've been called on it, and with player empowerment and the movement and the strength that it has gathered in the last couple of years. I mean, this thing is a monster, and it's evident. It is clear. It's a runaway train that cannot be stopped. That this is going to be a pro model. So get there. Like, get to the pro model rather than, you know, one year transfers, NIL. No.
Hardship.
You can pay them. They can transfer just like the student can that's sitting in the architecture class and go be eligible wherever they go and still be on track to graduate as long as all of the credits add up. And that's how it's going to be. And the Supreme Court told you, don't ever bring any of this stuff back around here. So you better go change your model. You better go adapt. You better go adjust, because otherwise you're not going to exist. And I think even by adapting and even by adjusting, they're still not going to exist. Mm-hmm. They're still not going to have or carry any weight within. I mean, once these two Big Ten and SEC form themselves, and Kevin Warren and Greg Sankey kind of rise to the top of forming these two power conferences that square off for everything, anything that means anything in college athletics is going to run through those two guys, through those two commissioners. The NCAA, I mean, they're hanging on for dear life. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're looking for so many life vests to be able to try and survive and keep their head above water that they can't even figure it out. They really thought, Emmert really thought he had a chance in front of the Supreme Court.
He got buried.
Oh, God, he got laughed out of the place.
But don't you think that this is also the NCAA going, fine, you don't want us? See how it is without us.
Yes,
yeah.
I do think that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what it feels like.
And they should have done it a while ago, and I think that Sankey and Warner are saying, thank you.
Right.
Get the hell out of here.
But there's going to be a degree of people that are going, where's the structure? Where
exactly.
It's like, because people aren't, I feel like some people don't realize what it was the entire time. They're buried under like the thin veil of amateurism. Like they believe that people go to certain schools because they really love it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, they're just playing because they love the game. Yeah. It's like, that's part of it for sure. But not everybody is going because of what you think the school is.
Right.
Like there's a reason that they're here.
Yeah.
And it may not be the thing that you think it is. But like to think that they're going like, oh, they're going to get an education and they're going to they're doing it for the love of the game. It's like, that's not really where we are anymore. Right. It has changed totally. And it's always been there. But now it's just, and the NCAA is now saying, look, we pulled the curtain down. Is this what you want to see? All right, fine. Mm-hmm. This is what it is now.
And that's
I'm good with it.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I knew it the whole time.
That's exactly what I wanted to see.
Me too.
I mean, the bylaws and rules in which this organization was built on in the 50s
the House of Cards.
Dead.
Yeah.
So is every conference going to govern themselves then? I mean, someone has to
but there's only going to be two that you really care about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, schools like...
you really care about.
Schools like... like if you're Washington State, if you're... who's some Big 12 team that doesn't mean anything? Iowa State. They got a pretty good football program,
football team,
but just Kansas State. You're in no man's land.
Yeah.
You're kind of you're in deep trouble.
They're swimming against the current.
Your athletic program is taking on water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's a tough sell to be able to try and sell like to your ticket base, to your sponsors, to your people that you matter.
Yeah. That
you're relevant. You know what I mean? Because anybody who's relevant within it is either going to be within the Big Ten or the SEC in a couple of years. And now it's obvious that geographically walls have been broken down. It doesn't matter really where you are, which is why, to me, the biggest player in all of this is Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. The biggest player left in the whole deal is Notre Dame. Whoever can sway Notre Dame, because at some point, this is going to get even too big for Notre Dame. It's because NBC has shown you Notre Dame's affiliate, like, they don't care that much about it. They ran Breeze within a year.
Yeah.
They were going to put him on Notre Dame football, and they were like, forget it. Well, let's just go another direction.
Yeah.
So to me, it's Notre Dame carries a ton of weight. Outside of that, you're just hoping and praying that you get just get picked.
It's crazy.
I think Arizona State sits in a good spot.
They just have to have some sort of brand recognition.
You got to have a draw.
Some sort of draw.
You got to have a draw, which is why the LSU, Louisiana Tech, Northwestern State, UL Lafayette, Southeastern, Southern game just doesn't mean anything anymore. It means a ton to the people in the state, and it means a lot to the fan base.
Yeah.
But to the people that are now controlling the sport, which are TV executives, and really
it's not bringing in the money.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's no demand to it. You know, I mean, it has to have some pull that makes either an advertiser say, I want to spend my money there, or makes a viewer say, I've got an appointment that I cannot break of watching college football, and I'm going to be there because of these games.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
and
do you remember the days of Tiger Vision?
Oh,
like that's kind of like what
Tiger.
those games were. Like they weren't even good enough to be on television, but if you paid, like people were so thirsty for LSU football, it's like we'll put it behind a paywall and people would buy it.
Yeah.
Talking about those low quality LSU games. That would
Oh
come on,
yeah,
like
but they had like,
LSU versus Towson.
anytime LSU wears purple at home.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
When was that? When did that exist?
80s, early 90s.
Tiger Vision?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
early 2000s.
Jim Hawthorne cut his teeth on some early Tiger Vision
Absolutely.
games.
Jack Hunt.
Yes.
He caught that
early
touchdown pass against Kentucky.
Tiger Vision games. So, I mean, just something to think about. I do believe that the accelerator has been mashed to the death of the NCAA with the latest news, and that being that the transfer portal is being blown up. It's not anymore that it's going to be just one time that a student athlete can transfer. You can transfer as many times as you want. I just think that this is the right play is to say, you know what, transfer as much as you want, and collectively, as we said, the Big Ten had student athletes last week approach the Big Ten office saying that they wanted more medical treatment, they wanted better medical treatment, and they wanted a cut of the media rights. And, you know, I mean, they've got a lot of power. You know, I mean, if the Big Ten athletes say, either make that happen or we don't show up for the games, Big Ten's in a pickle. They're in a spot, right? So the Big Ten's best interest is probably to say, hey, representative for the players, let's sit down in a room, let's come up with a structure that makes sense, and let's all make sure we agree upon this for so many years to take care of it. Sweet. Y'all going to be bringing in $1 billion on television? We want X amount. You've got access to this medical facility, these doctors, this technology. We want that for the rest of our life if we sign up to play football in the Big Ten. We want benefits. We want Social Security. We want 401k. We want things that people are receiving in this type of world that's producing this type of profit. You know, I mean, they might not get everything that they want, but, you know, I mean, you go in there with the top 2 line items that you want, make sure you get those. Everything else is just lagniappe. Mm-hmm. They want a piece of that media pie, and they want their medical figured out. And they're not probably going to budge until they get it. And the SEC's looking at it and saying, all right, if that's happening in the Big Ten, they just got their new media deal. In a couple of years, when we strike our deal, it's going to be very similar. We might as well just get out in front of it and say, hey, look, we're ready to collectively bargain an agreement with the Players Association. Let's sit down with whoever's going to represent them, and let's come up and strike our deal. And if you come into the SEC and play football, no matter if you're at Texas A&M, at Georgia, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, or LSU, you're going to receive X. And you can transfer every year you want, but I don't know why you would. Because if you go to the Big Ten, you're going to be making less. And if you go to any other SEC school, you're going to be making the same thing. Well, I want to make more power individually, more money individually. You can do that anywhere you want. That's just about relationships. Do you have relationships within your market? If you're playing at LSU, you need to go find yourself or go introduce yourself to Gordon McKernan. Looks like he's in the NIL game. That's just free enterprise, how it's going to work. And that's how it should work. And if it works like it should, the NCAA serves no purpose. Or at least one that demands the time and energy that they take up now. So I think that, look, Greg Sankey, as he opened up SEC Media Days, referenced last week, he had opened up that press conference many a times with the Bob Dylan quote, change is a-coming. And change is a-here. As he's been saying since 2015, when he was introduced the first time at SEC Media Days, he opened it up with Bob Dylan's lyrics when he was saying, it's coming. telling you, it is coming. Change is on the horizon. Get ready for it. Now the change is here, and it's happening at a very rapid rate. And
That's
it's
what I was
just
going to
going to
ask.
continue to happen.
Are you shocked that it's happened this quickly? Like the windfall has been mighty.
I do think that the last 2 years have been just
Fast
a
forward.
tornado, man.
You're
I
right.
mean, it's been incredible at the rate of speed in which it has changed. Beneath your kind of right in front of your face, kind of like holding water. I mean, you can just kind of see it happening right in front of you. And I still believe that the next 2 years will be polarizingly different than this. But I do believe that it will plane
What's
out.
left?
I just think that you need to get a players.
Collective.
Yeah, you need to get a players representation. You need to have somebody representing the Big Ten and the SEC. It's professional sports.
It is.
It's minor. It's always been free minor league for the NFL.
Yeah.
But now it truly is a minor league system that's built a lot like baseball's model, where this team pays this team pays that, this league pays this league pays that, and there's benefits over here, there's benefits over there. It's who works out the better deal. I mean, really, the SEC's looking at the Big Ten as their roadmap right now.
It's crazy to see that. Like, I guess we'll look back on this probably. Like, what's happening right now is like the windfall of change is happening right beneath like our feet.
Yeah.
Like, we'll look back on this in 10 years and be like, do you remember whenever this
We will.
they have stripped the system and changed the game totally. Like
Yeah.
the NCAA, as far as we know it, no longer exists. This is a whole new league.
5 years maybe.
Yes, I mean it's at this rate.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to know, like, and to notice, like, oh shit, they're changing this, they're changing
I
this.
know.
Like, never would I have thought that you could have a transfer portal like this in
I
college
know.
football or college sports. And now it's like, oh, one-time sure, it's like, okay, that makes sense. Now it's like, go wherever the hell you want.
know.
Like, y'all figure it out.
Because
I'm out.
5 years ago, you couldn't even leave a school
No.
without
Yeah.
sitting out.
I mean, do you remember who was the guy that was trying to get a hardship waiver because his, like, mom or dad was sick in a hospital? He's like, well, I want to move home to play closer to my parents that are sick. And they're like, the NCAA said no. And then you see Tate Bartell going left, right, center, and it's like, but he gets to go, why can't I go? And now they're just like, anybody can go anywhere they want.
Well,
at
yeah, I
any
mean,
time.
they're in no position to tell anybody no.
Right,
Yeah,
and
they're
that,
not.
what they were doing, it felt like, It's like,
Just like when they dropped off the NCAA notice of allegations to Tennessee on Friday. I mean,
did that move the
18
needle?
level 1.
Where is Jeremy Pruitt?
I don't know, high school somewhere.
Killing it.
I mean, he's got to be a high school coach somewhere
Hoover.
because my man is
Did you say
He's
Hoover?
deep.
Nah,
either that or he did it at the right time. Where
he's a visionary.
where it's like, look, I mean, you really going to get me in trouble for this when you're now
60K.
blowing this thing up? I mean, you're blowing the model up, and you're saying that they can get paid, they can transfer anywhere they want. You've known this has been going on under the table for so many years. I mean, Will Wade was 4 years too late,
Yep.
too early. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
he was 4 years too early.
A visionary.
You know what I mean? 4 years from now, Wade might be the coach of the year.
He might be in the
I
NBA.
mean, guys dressing like Pat Riley on the sidelines.
NIL deals this guy's
Yeah,
getting his
right.
kids.
Instead, he's getting the fist.
Yeah, no doubt. Except he's at the death penalty. He can't come back to the game. You know what I mean? Jeremy Pruitt's
he
handing
has
out
to-
cash and McDonald. I mean, like, how blatant can you get? He's got his wife in on
He's
it.
literally
I know,
doing
the
like the
wife.
joke. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's in a McDonald's grab bag. It's like,
Oh, no,
actually, I was doing it that way. Yeah,
It's
you're
the
right.
movie.
Yes.
I mean, it's the program. I mean, it's like, no way they're
watch
cheating
this.
like
Like
this, huh?
Like,
Like, they did it like this? They were just handing the cash away in McDonald's bags to recruits when they showed up? I mean, the wife was, like, dropping off cash to him? Like, no way. It's like a Hollywood movie.
it's exactly what you think it is.
It is. Paying their rent. It's crazy.
It's nuts, man.
Parents-
But I mean,
paying
if
the
I'm
parents,
Tennessee, I'm kind of
Sit
like
at the table.
I did see where they said that that Tennessee, in every step of the process, the university's quick and decisive actions have exemplified the long-standing values of the NCAA that are reiterated in the membership's new constitution. A university statement provided to the News Centennial read over the weekend. While NCAA bylaws prohibit the university from publicly commenting about the specific allegations, the university has and will continue to seek a resolution of this case that is consistent with the NCAA's new constitution and in the best interest of the University of Tennessee. I kind of think that Tennessee is going to get away with it the same way I think that LSU is going to get away with Wade stuff. I think that the NCAA was embarrassed by Pruitt. 18 level 1 violations. Damn, bro.
They're gonna
Makes
get away with
Weed
it.
look like
But-
a toddler.
Yeah, and then they're like 18 level 1 violations, but not lack of institutional control.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
what is lack of
I
institutional
mean, if
control? then?
18
Yeah,
level
20?
one's not, what is?
More.
Wait, Jeremy Pruitt
Strippers
is
on campus.
More.
the senior defensive assistant for the Giants.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. That's
There you go.
bury
There you
yourself
go.
in the
Yeah.
sand.
Who's the head coach for the Giants? Is that Brian Dabold?
I don't know.
Yeah, is that Dabold? Old Alabama guy.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Fell on
See
his
that?
ass up.
Coaching ain't nothing
Yeah.
but relationships.
I
Nothing
know
but
this-
relationships.
I know this guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Call old Jeremy. He needs work.
Who don't want to throw a couple back with? Where's Pruitt?
Exactly.
Good time.
And, it's a great place for Pruitt to hide out until any type of show calls or any type of penalty comes down for him to the NCAA. Because I guarantee you this, if he gets through this clean, somebody's going to hire him.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to hire him because he can get players. And the jokes write themselves on Pruitt, just like they write themselves on Wade. But, at the end of it, they're still really good recruiters. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you can't
they
argue
were
that.
paying people, but so was everybody else.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And
were
the
their
way
lives.
the way that Jeremy Pruitt learned how to do it, I know that he probably wasn't using the Saban tactics at Tennessee, paying him at McDonald's bags, but he learned under the best.
How can we be more efficient?
Yeah, right. Like,
Put it in
old
tennis shoebox.
Saban's
I want-
paying the mom.
I want the
Old,
number
old
one.
Nikki's hiring the mom at
Yeah.
a Fortune 500 and paying her on a no-show job. I say we just throw him the cash in a McDonald's bag.
Literally give him money in McDonald's. Like, yeah, ask for the number 1 extra ketchup, no mayonnaise. Like, okay. I got
you.
$60,000 on accident.
Let me get a double quarter pounder.
Yeah.
Add the special sauce.
I want the special sauce.
Green.
Exactly.
Les will give you the special sauce.
All right, remember Daily, we're brought to you by Cajun Ready Mix Concrete, our friends over at Cajun Ready Mix Concrete, online at CajunRMC.com. CajunRMC.com is where you can find them online. No project too big, too small for you over at Cajun Ready Mix Concrete. They can help you out, industrial, residential, municipal, help them out today. CajunRMC.com, CajunRMC.com. You also see the promo code for us, or the QR code for our friends over at Caesars Sportsbook. Football season on the horizon, people. Just moments away from being able to bet on preseason football, but until then, you can bet on futures.
Got on a heater last year,
we
Coach.
got approved for our credentials at New Orleans Saints camp. We will have boots on the ground. Oh, Ronnie
It
Riggs.
really is the Wild Wild West.
Ronnie Riggs going to be representing FM Digital Media over there in Metairie. He'll be making the trip back and forth. We'll be bringing you pictures, sound bites, videos from Saints training camp as they report on Wednesday. Football season is here.
It's right here.
And if you want to see any of it, you have to go to Ron's personal page.
That is not true. It's not true. Ronnie and I are meeting today on how we're going to handle this coverage.
Not
we're gonna
true, Lloyd.
maximize the exposure for everybody over here at
That's to
FM.
touch you with your left hand.
So look, QR code, hit it in the top right of your screen right there. It'll take you to FM 15. That is the letter F, the letter M, 15 is the promo code where you can risk up to $1,500 risk free from our friends over at Caesars Sportsbook just by using the promo code FM15. The letter F, the letter M, 15. We're going to talk to LSU's newest commitment here in a couple of minutes. 2024 tight end Tavion Galloway out of Ohio chose LSU over Ohio State, Michigan, and others over the weekend. It was a pretty cool moment. A video popped for Galloway of him standing. It looked like in the indoor facility. Our friend Jordan Arsamah was there.
There we go.
And along with looked like Denbrock was in there, the offensive coordinator and the tight ends coach.
Happy to be here.
That's exactly right. Brian Kelly, obviously, in there, and Tavion Galloway was made the news official that he was pledging to LSU. We'll ask him about that moment coming up here at 8 a.m. And then we'll talk to Josh Pate at 8:30 this morning. Pate doing great work over at CBS Sports and Go 247. If you have seen it, Late Kick with Josh Pate on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed there. But we'll talk to him about some of these things around the SEC, around the NCAA, around the Big Ten, and what's going on with the future here. Get his thoughts on the transfer rule, and also his thoughts on SEC Media Day. We had a pretty embarrassing moment last week with Brad Davis where we sent him the wrong address, where we sent him across town in the pouring rain to a different place. We actually sent him to my house. He called me. He was sitting in my
A lot of
driveway.
weed
It was
talk
like,
going on.
I know. We did.
Yeah,
What's that?
We said
A lot
that.
of we.
Oh, yes. I did.
We were all thinking, God, we didn't.
Oh, an all-timer.
Yeah, it was bad.
Should have been here at 6:58 this morning.
Josh Pate ghosted Kirby Smart last week. Got a mix-up on the time. Smart showed up for the interview, sitting there waiting on Pate. He's not there. We'll let him tell the story last week. I mean,
was he getting a quick little pump in?
I don't know. Probably so. A couple of pull-ups in the hall.
He is shredded.
Yeah, he's yoked.
Pee in this cup.
We will we'll talk to Pate coming
Mental
up
health.
here at 8:30 this morning about that. We got Gallaway on the way. Some other big news happening around here in South Louisiana is that the Maravich statue is going to be unveiled today at 6 o'clock this afternoon outside of the Maravich Center as LSU is set to debut or unveil the statue of Pistol Pete Maravich, the NCAA's all-time leading scorer. That'll happen this afternoon, as we said, and it'll stand alongside Hall of Famers Shaquille O'Neal and Bob Pettit on the north side of the PMAC. Arguably the greatest college basketball player of all time, Maravich shattered the records during his time at the collegiate level. His scoring ability was second to none. He averaged 44 points a game from 67 through 70 without a three-point line. And he shredded the record books. He was a three-time first-team All-American while at LSU before entering the draft, where he was the number one pick to the Atlanta Hawks. So I'm going to take little Jay over there this afternoon just to kind of see it, be a part of it, which I think will be a cool moment. Long time coming, obviously. Feel very fortunate for the Maravich family, Miss Jackie, the boys, and all the crew. It should be cool to see them over there today. As Scott Woodward said, look, the wheels have been in motion on this for a while. And then Simone will get her statue at some point, hopefully here over the next couple of weeks and months, that we'll be celebrating as well. LSU's turned into a statue school for sure. It's still no word on when the Burrow statue will be erected, but I can't imagine that will take them too long.
It's erect.
Always. I'd imagine they probably put him up there in the front of the football stadium.
Have to.
And then some sad news here, but it looks like it'll be okay with John Metchie. Metchie, former Alabama wide receiver, announced on Sunday that he had been diagnosed top round draft pick to the Houston Texans. I believe he was the second round pick. D-Sting was the first round, and I believe Metchie was the second round pick. That he was diagnosed with APL, which is the most curable form of leukemia. Metchie said in a statement released by the Texans, "I'm currently receiving great medical care and in good spirits. I expect to make a recovery at a later point in time. As a result of the diagnosis, I will likely not be playing football this season. My main focus will be on my health and recovery. Thank you in advance for your support and well wishes. I cannot wait to come back stronger than ever. God bless." Nick Saban put out a statement saying that Alabama is behind him every step of the way and that is a blessing. He is in a city known for great medical care and with an organization with the Houston Texans that will be with him throughout this journey. So, of course, Metchie tore his ACL in the SEC championship game. He was on pace for had a great season last year, but looked like he was going to finish strong. Couldn't do it with the ACL injury in the SEC title game. More adversity for the former SEC standout in Metchie. But if there is one piece of positive news that you can take away from the release, is that it says it is the most curable form of leukemia. And you got to imagine that he is a very strong individual physically, very young. So hopefully he'll be able to battle and beat this and put it behind him and make it a success story. But something that popped over the weekend. And then speaking of Saints camp, Michael Thomas, among notable players that was added to the physically unable to perform list.
He got a new foot.
I mean,
he got a new foot. It's a new
Jesus.
foot.
I mean, what did they do to this guy? They rebuild him in a lab? I mean,
it's a new foot. I'm telling you.
I
Prosthetic.
thought this was a joke. It is either
like a
a joke
lizard's tail.
or he's got it worked into his contract where he doesn't go through training camp or something.
Totally.
I mean, like,
Something.
and they're just trying to cover for him because there's no way that I am going to believe that they're still working on the foot.
He hasn't played in, what, 2 years?
I can't.
years.
When's
Yeah,
the last?
two.
What's the last pass he caught?
2019? I
At
wanna say.
Tennessee.
Was it from Drew Brees or was it from
It was
Teddy?
Drew.
Was it from Brees?
Or was it Teddy?
Was it Teddy or was it Brees?
Oh, well, I thought last season he played was Drew Brees' last
You
year.
remember he made that little comeback when they thought they were gonna like make a push, and like that. This is where that whole thing started. He was like hurt, but then he's like, I'm gonna come back for Drew's last like final hoorah, and then he's like, I'm not playing anymore after that. Like he was out. I don't know what's up. I'm just gonna. I'm
He's
team
milking
Michael,
that shit.
I'm team Michael Thomas. I can't do. I'm not gonna.
I am too. Like I'm like,
Do
look,
you,
man,
bro.
You the
Just
Saints have to have
whenever
him
you're ready.
to be the best, but it's just like
bro.
get to the games. Like get to the games so I can like you again.
Please.
Like I'm ready to watch you play, man. You know, and I want no beef.
That's
You
what
know
I'm saying. I don't
mean?
want. I'm good.
Like, even though, I mean, the Chauncey Gardner situation kind of brought a little maybe a little paper champ to Mike Thomas. But I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
We did a dynasty league. He's still on my squad. If you got him after
All
the
day.
fifth
I mean,
round,
and look,
I-
if you
I
can
to
get
keep him.
half the production of what he was giving you the last year he was healthy, I mean, he was the best receiver in the league, man. But to look up and see him on the PUP list, not going through the start of training camp, it's just
Shock, not shocked.
I'm shocked.
You are.
I really am. I'm like, I guess I understand what you're saying on he's been hurt so much. You would think that you would not be shocked, but I'm shocked that it's still a
We're
story.
still here.
Like physically unable to perform. Like a couple of weeks ago,
we
it was
sure?
news when he was sprinting. What's happened since then?
I thought he was all good, and then like when the video came out, like, oh, this is what we're like celebrating. He's like, he can run, and now he can't perform. But he'll be
New foot.
yes or no week 1.
Yes.
No, do you think? No, I'm saying, do you?
Yes,
think
I'm still saying yes. I still think that this is so. Like I am in my own head right now. I think he's 100% healthy.
Oh, really?
Yes, he's got to be.
I'm
I
flummoxed.
mean, come on, man.
It's been 2
Like-
years.
Yeah.
If it's not, I want to see the doctor. Like I want to
wanna
talk to
see
the
the
doctor.
foot.
Like, who's been in charge of getting his foot
Let's
right?
talk.
I mean, what,
I
this
like
is
you.
this is a world class athlete. I mean, he's not even 30 yet. It's a foot injury. I get that it was bad, but I mean, like
He hadn't played since he got
Michael
the
Jordan came
contract.
back from one in '84. Did play basketball. Let me get the guy right. Dennis Allen said, I would much rather him be 100% healthy out there and all those kinds of things, but that's not where we're at right now. He's busting his tail to get himself ready to go, coach speak. And I feel like he's making significant progress. I think mentally he's in a great place. And again,
great.
we're just going to let that process play out and get him healthy. Get him healthy.
Oh my God,
Yeah, something else is up.
Sheesh.
it's been 2 years, Coach.
Tavion Galloway, 4-star tight end.
We'll get his thoughts on it.
Pledged to LSU over the weekend. He's from Ohio. What did he love about down south here in Baton Rouge and why LSU? We'll ask him next year in the Jordy Culotta Show. Driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button. We'll be right back. Driven and powered, as we said, by Go Chevrolet.
By Michael Thomas.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Sean Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks, whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
so join our team.
make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
Best athlete to come out of New Iberia, Mark Roman.
Sean Booty.
Kayshawn? Wow.
Right now, Sean, and Mark was a little bit before me. I was a ball boy when Mark was playing at New Iberia Senior High School. I played like right after Mark, but Sean has done some things, and just the things that you guys are seeing Sean do, that he's not even scratching the surface of what we saw on a day-to-day basis at practice. And he's unreal. He's unreal.
He's so natural. It's so so easy. It looks so easy to him.
Yes, it's so easy, and there's never been another a competitor I've ever seen like Kayshawn. Kayshawn would not lose going to eat pregame meal. He has to be the first. He is the ultimate competitor. He would not lose. So trust me, he will be ready.
Man, so kind of when I entered the transfer portal, I knew what type of facility, what type of program I wanted to go to. Being that before I committed to Ohio State, my first unofficial was to LSU.
Oh wow!
And but that was when Coach O and Coach Raymond was here or whatever. But definitely the coaches, the scheme Kelly, trying to bring in, trying to implement, his way of going, like detailed person. That's where I wanted to be. I know I want to be.
Did you have any experience with Coach Kelly?
No, I had no experience. No.
Really? Who was your main recruiter from LSU?
Sherman Wilson. Yeah, he was, stay consistent, honest, just gave it to me straight.
Yeah.
And this is where I wanted to be.
How do you feel about that number at this university playing that position?
Yeah, man, I definitely want it. I definitely want to come in and improve, to my teammates, not just the coaches, but to my teammates that I got to go play with. That I deserve it, and once I do that, then everything is up from there. Yeah.
We're all from different places and backgrounds.
Hey Baton Rouge, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, whether you need to fill up your vehicle or your belly, stop by Go-Mart and On The Go Deli. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you might need on your trip. So stop by Go-Mart at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left, and visit Tom and Wright Granning and their awesome team at Go-Mart.
We've seen the BK takeover stuff from LSU and social media, and really in his short time in Baton Rouge, there's been a lot of people embracing his approach to building this roster. What's it like to recruit alongside him?
Oh, it's been great. Coach has been awesome to me because he lets me be myself when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to coaching. He lets his coaches coach, he lets his coaches recruit. So I have no complaints on that end. And when I need him to get in touch with a kid, he's there for me. The communication line has been great. He's just been nothing but supportive.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Sports with it.
It's just like anything else. I mean, I don't want to get into hyperbole, but it's, everything is. I mean, frankly, I'm still worried more about concussions. We don't talk about it much anymore, but, we've kind of helped solve it in a lot of ways and make the game a lot safer. So anytime we have existential threats, which this one could or could not be, we just deal with it, and we will deal with it. It's just part of the game. And, I don't mind a lot of what's come out of this movement of doing more for the student athletes, but like anything else, it boomerangs a little too far, and you got to swing it back into, hey, what we do for the student athletes, and it's a hell of a lot, and I'm proud of that fact that we are leaders in doing that, but we're going to do it right. The Tiger Athletic Foundation and in partnership, obviously.
I can hear you.
Funded a master plan study because I wanted to see, hey, what we needed, and I just didn't want my opinion. I've been a few places, and I have a good one, I think, but you just want to see how and what our needs are, and so we're in that process of looking at it, and obviously, the PMAC is 50 years old this year, and probably needs some updating. It's got good bones, and maybe we can see what we can do with that. Same thing with all that property that we have both down Nicholson and where we are currently on Nicholson and North Stadium. Is that, hey, is this the proper use and best use for that? And hand in hand with the university and what we do with TAF, we'll make those decisions, and we'll be prudent and thinking about what and how we do. Yeah, it's kind of weird in a perverse way, Jordy. You know me well, is that I kind of relish in change, and I do like it. I'm one of the few people that embraces it, and we're very lucky at LSU to have it, to be where we are and to be able to do that. I mean, I can't say that for everyone in the business because it is unsettling in a lot of ways. But for us, change is a good thing, and I think we're going to be the beneficiary of it, and it's not gonna stop. It's just going to keep on going. Yeah. And I'd be lying to you if I told you I had a crystal ball and can tell you what was going on and what's going to happen. But we're going to be here, and we're going to embrace it, and we're going to take advantage of it the best we can.
All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Big news over the weekend, LSU staying hot in recruiting for whether it's 2023 or 2024. LSU been riding high as of late. They were able to pick up another big-time playmaker, this time in the class of 2024 from the state of Ohio. Tavion Galloway, who was down in Baton Rouge over the weekend. Some cool video popped on Galloway giving his commitment inside of the indoor. It looked like Mike Denbrock, the staff, Jordan Arsema, and Brian Kelly and crew were in there. It gives us a chance to go up to Ohio now and check out the latest pledge to LSU in 2024, the tight end, Tavion Galloway. Tavion, good morning, bro. Congratulations. How are you?
Good morning. I appreciate you. I'm good, though. I'm blessed.
You're up there in Ohio, bro. We're talking about Mike Thomas. Do you expect him to play this year? He's pissing the Saints fans off. We want him on the field.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Breaking news.
There it is.
We don't either.
Good talking to you.
Tavion, people excited about you, man. A lot of people looked up your highlight tape after you pledged to LSU and see a big-time playmaker. What was it about LSU that made you shut the process down and pledge to Brian Kelly?
It's really just everything about the program and that coaching staff. I really just love. They showed a lot of love and hospitality to my family as well. Both times I was there, and ever since the first time that I visited there, really just felt at home to me, and I really just loved it. And I was like, I don't think any school could top this. So I'm ready to commit. I was ready. I felt the time was ready.
So what is your relationship like with? I know Coach Denbrock is the offensive coordinator, but he's also the tight ends coach. I saw him there in the video with you when you made your commitment. What's your relationship like with him?
That's really the closest I've gotten with a coach through my whole recruitment, because he even recruited me whenever he was at Cincinnati, and he's just been real genuine to me, and he's just been a real person to me, and he's shown that he'll do a lot for me. So that's the type of coach I want.
What was your trip like down to Baton Rouge? What'd you take away from the city?
It was really just amazing. I love everything about being down south, and especially the food. Like, I'm a huge food lover, so that down south food. That's what really sold me.
What'd they feed y'all? What'd you eat this weekend?
I wasn't down there this weekend, but the first time I went down there, we had crawfish.
So tell me about your recruitment, man. A lot of people look at you, and you've got anybody who's everybody is interested in you. You've got big-time offers from all over the country. I'd imagine that it was a hell of a decision to decide to shut it down right now. How did you get to that choice?
So really, I've just been blessed to travel around, and I've been able to see a lot of places, and I've been able to talk to a lot of coaches early on in my recruitment. And I felt like after just seeing so many schools and the way LSU just felt to me, I feel like the time was just ready. You know, I'm a big guy on faith. I was just praying a lot on it, and I just felt like the time was ready. I feel like it's not gonna get any better than LSU. And then that's just when I came to my conclusion.
You watch anybody? You look up anybody's game?
Like what do you mean, from like college or like
Yeah,
the
anybody
NFL?
anybody's game that you watch that you try to steal stuff from, or you got big respect for?
I look at like Tyler Higbee on like the Rams, and then not like some like college players that I looked at. I looked at Braden Gallaway. Like, he got the same last name as me. Like, we're not related or anything, but like that's just a guy that I looked at just because I always thought it was interesting because he had the same last name as me.
You're in Chillicothe, Ohio. Did I say that right?
Chillicothe.
Surely not. Surely not.
Jesus Christ, did I butcher
You're
that
on
name?
an all-time heater with
Lord
names and
have mercy.
states and pronunciation.
My bad, Tay.
That
My
was
bad,
not
bro.
it.
Bengals or Browns fan?
I'd pick the Bengals over the Browns,
Okay.
but I'm not really a fan of it. I'm not really a fan of either.
Okay, Joe Burrow mania though. Is it crazy up there in that part of the world?
Oh yeah, for sure. hey, people love Joe Burrow, man.
I bet.
Joe Shiesty.
So you play any other sports?
Yeah, I play basketball.
Oh, nice. How's your hoop game?
I was originally a hooper before I really got serious into football, so I like to think I'm pretty good.
That I'd imagine playing tight end. That basketball translate to playing tight end more than any other position in playing football. Do you use that skill set? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what my uncle, like, who trained me. That's what he told me a lot growing up. Whenever I was playing basketball, he's like, yeah, all this translates to football, and he's like, football is going to translate right back to basketball. It proved.
So you're the latest to commit to the 2024 class. They picked up JoJo Stone from Georgia, Xavier Atkins down here in Louisiana as a dog. How much do you pay attention to what is going on with the rest of the class?
Yeah, I've been paying attention to recruitment heavy. So so originally I was actually like the first kid in like the class of 2024 to commit. I just like was like one of the last to announce it out of the few that just committed. But I was already talking to them before they even announced their commitment, and I've been reaching out to other kids about trying to have them come to LSU, just telling them just to look for them, like schools that are releasing their top schools. I'm like, LSU to move.
This is a long time before next signing day. I mean, you pretty firmly committed?
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely locked in with LSU.
So what's the training like during for you for the summer before camp cranks up for you?
I just been working on my route running, just getting stronger. I've been in the weight room, just preparing for the season. I've been making sure I've been eating right, just getting my mind right, to really just lock in for the season. Just doing like little things here and there. It don't always got to be a hard day. Sometimes you just have little mental days where you're just paying attention to the little things.
Tavion, congratulations on the news over the weekend, bro. I know a lot of people that wear purple and gold, a lot of people, the fans down here, excited to have you a part of the class. Looking forward to watching you play as a junior, bro. Go have a great season.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
You got it, man. We'll be checking in again. There he is, Tavion Galloway, the 2024 tight end, newest addition to the class, brought to you by Dead Sox.
Don't be getting any ideas about the transfer portal, Tavion. You're locked in here.
No, he's good.
Yeah, you're good.
He's good. Coming far from home. I think that's a good sign, for like future transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're coming down south. You pledge. I mean, sometimes those are the fastest guys to lose, but if you can get them to stick past a certain point, they'll hang on forever, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we referenced Tayshaun Bowers from New Jersey a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Bowers and kind of his development. I mean, there were parts in time where I remember where they were really battling keeping Bowers in the program when he was young and going through the not playing stage of learning it out, of getting singled out every day in film, of getting singled out every day on the field, of getting his ass kicked, on the field. Absolutely, man. I mean, far away from home, know a lot of people. But then once you pass that barrier and you get that confidence boost, it really makes sense for the individual that it's the best choice they ever made. I love those types of success stories from people that come far away. If you've seen Galloway's film, bro, I mean, as a sophomore,
He can go.
he's looking like that. He looks like a future
If you're
5-star.
He just looked. I mean, he's put together.
Yeah.
How big is he?
Do
we know?
Let me get you the 6'5", 235.
As a sophomore.
As a sophomore.
You don't think he's open every play?
I mean, like terrorizing defensive
Hey,
backs.
quarterback, get it to
13.
We don't have. Yeah, do what you think is right. Get it to Gallaway.
You see 13?
He's open.
Just throw it up.
Yeah.
Just throw it up. Conversation brought to you by our friends over at Fresh Chef Eats. Our friends over at Fresh Chef Eats bring you every single day all meals made in bulk items and prepared fresh each week specifically for each individual order. Fresh produce delivered each week. All proteins are prepared in-house, whether it's sauces, dressings, marinade. They're all prepared from scratch in-house as well. Retail and weekly pre-ordering available. You got the nutritional value and information on all of the items that you pick up. If you're following us on social media, you see a lot of the Fresh Chef Eats on our Instagram that we start our day with and have throughout the day. Check them out at freshchefeats.com. freshchefeats.com to get the latest with what's happening over there with Chef Shane and Fresh Chef Kitchen. We'll be back with more of a Monday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button. We'll talk more college football, expansion, death of the NCAA feeling imminent after the latest news of the weekend with the transfer portal and the Big Ten looking like they're putting together some type of representation. Like I said, they didn't call themselves a union. It feels like a union, but it looks as if the players will be represented at some point here in the near future, and you can start moving this thing down the tracks as a professional league and setup because it feels just like that's what it is. We'll talk more about it coming up here. Josh Pate, 15 minutes from now. Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Hit that like button, share button, comment button.
Like.
Do you suffer from chronic dehydration? Are you looking to improve your athletic performance and you need to get over and see our friends over at GoFlow IV? They're located on Jefferson Highway. Easy to find them online at GEAUXFlowIV.com. Make sure and use the promo code Jordy Culotta Show. If you do, they'll take 15% off of your initial visit. Check them out online, GEAUXFlowIV.com.
I was excited to come to a top level program. I've been at a lot of great places, been very fortunate in my career, but to really say that you have an opportunity every year, once we get it rolling, to win a national championship, there's not very many places that you can say that. So for him to offer me the opportunity to come with him to LSU was nothing but humility and gratitude. Some Sunday players in that room. But again, it's got to be the total package, the total process of buy-in, of understanding what we're trying to get done, of figuring out how we want it to get done, but also allowing those guys to be able to play with instincts. For example, I think Jay Ward is long and athletic. He's very versatile. He's played corner, played nickel, played safety. Very excited about Joe Fouché, one of the transfer guys that we came in because he has a dimension of physicality. Major Burns. Fortunate enough that he was able to come back home. Again, he's long, he's athletic, so he gives you flexibility between both field and boundary safeties. And then you've got some guys that you can throw in like Brooks, Sage, Derek Davis. Todd Harris is a guy that's been around for a while. So I think that we have enough in that room to be successful. But again, you still want to continue to grow and be able to push it.
Yeah, well, I think it starts here, and we have a good bit of people on this particular staff who are from Louisiana, who know and believe in our hearts that this place produces the best football players in the country, you know, and I think the numbers speak for themselves per capita, produce the most NFL players, you know what I mean? So even from an analytical standpoint, it makes sense to take the kids from here because the chances of them playing in the league are higher than if they come from anywhere else. I think our brand is super powerful, so we will have to recruit at a national level, or there's really no reason that we shouldn't, you know what I mean? Because if we can get a top player from another state who can help us win a championship, then of course, right? But I think it starts right here in Louisiana and then right here in Baton Rouge. You know, there's some really good players who are still available that are right here in Baton
I ended up at a lunch yesterday with 3 suits from WAFB.
In the J's?
In the J's, in the hat, in the T-shirt. I thought I was going to meet 1 suit, and we actually showed up to the same restaurant that 2 other suits were eating at. We all conjoined table and had an executive lunch with everybody from WAFB. A lot of good return on the show early on. A lot of good feedback. They think we ought to start fining for cursing in the first hour.
Fining who?
Fining for whoever does it.
Like fining each other?
Yeah.
We're going to have a swear jar?
A swear jar.
Okay.
Tough.
7 a.m. between the 7 and 8 a.m. hour.
It's Lloyd that would
That's
have
exactly what they said.
So
That's exactly what they said. The suit said. He said, Lloyd pushes the envelope on the cussing thing we've talked about. Hey, how's the show? We're all kind of like passing the bread, you know what I mean? Like early, like I'm just trying to like fit in at this table. They're like, oh yeah, the show's good. What's the guy in on the couch? What's Lloyd? Is it Lloyd? Yeah, Lloyd. What about him? He sure does push the line on the cussing thing, doesn't he? Which, by the way, there's no rules to our contract at WAFB that states that, we can't cuss at a certain time or, we've got to change the show at any point. There's been no discussions of changing anything that we do from WAFB. And the nucleus of LSU's team has to be from Louisiana. You can look up every championship run, and the nucleus of all of those squads have been from the state. You've always had outside influences, whether it's been Brandon LaFell or Joe Burrow. You know what I mean? Like, pick the one that you wanna bring in. But there's always been that one big time player. I think that the weekend that LSU had this past weekend, where they brought in like Ashton Stamps from Rummel, who's a DB from New Orleans, 3-star guy, but you've seen his recruitment really start to pick up. But then when you look at what they did outside of the area, and look, I'm big on guarding the state. Get Louisiana first, and then build your class outside of that. But if you can go into other states and you can take, states' best players, like LSU did over the weekend. Jackson Howard's the #1 player in Minnesota. Minnesota doesn't have any football. I get it that they don't have the traditional football, players, high school programs that Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia do. But if you can go in and take somebody's #1 player, who was it? Tayshawn Bowers a few years ago, the big stand-up defensive end who was out of New Jersey. Mm-hmm. He was the #1 player out of New Jersey. That recruiting cycle came down here. Took him a while. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To catch on, but by his senior season, he was a problem coming off the edge. I mean, you look at this guy, Jackson Howard from Minnesota, right? Like, I mean, he looks like an SEC football player. His physique, his style, the way he plays. You look at a guy like Joshua Mickens. Mickens is the #1 player in the state of Indiana. All right, like Indiana football. You don't think of football when you think Indiana. You think basketball, right? But, I mean, you go in there and you take the top player who's a rush defensive end. When you watch the film, man, that guy looks like a SEC caliber type recruit, prospect. And LSU's able to get #1 player in Minnesota, #1 player in Indiana. Deshaun Womack, who we spoke to yesterday, a highly rated player in the state of Maryland. Deron Reed, who's a top flight player in the state of Georgia. I get going out and getting these elite players from around the country, and I think LSU has the brand to shop it nationally. But yes, I do believe that your core has to be from Louisiana. I think Dante Moore is the guy that they are waiting to find out what happens next. You're on camera, Lloyd.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't think he's coming.
What were you
I really think that Ricky Collins is going to be the quarterback that LSU is going after. I really do. We had Denbrock through here. We had Joe Sloan through here. We've talked to Marcus Randall. We've talked to Rohan Davey. We've talked to people around Collins, and I think LSU feels that he's the one that they want, and he's the one that they can get at this point.
What did Marcus say?
That LSU needs to pick it up. I think that.
Oh, they're making up ground, I'm sure.
But look, Joe Sloan's done great with the quarterbacks. He really has. I think that Sloan is he is a relationship builder. He is a guy that understands and really embraces recruiting, and he knows that they need to sign a quarterback in this class, and Ricky Collins is an SEC caliber quarterback that LSU just. They didn't have the relationship. The program didn't have the relationship built like it needed to be once Kelly and them took the job over. So they had to make up some ground. But I do believe that when it's all said and done, when it all shakes out, I think LSU is going to get a quarterback, and I think that it's going to be Ricky Collins. I'm not saying that. The poll question is up. Southern Eyes Center presents our poll question. Remember our friends over at the Southern Eyes Center that you can find on Jefferson Highway. Dr. Ann Shaw and her great crew over there. If you mention the Jordy Culotta show, save yourself 25% on name brand sunglasses. All the name brands over there that you can choose from. If you want a brand new pair and mention the show, you'll save yourself 25% on the bottom line. Is Josh Pate on the sauce or not? Yes or no? We will ask Pate coming up here in a couple of minutes.
Would you admit it if you were?
No.
Oh, you wouldn't?
No.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a little. It's
I mean, he's always been in good shape, but now he's like popping.
Too big. But
the biceps are.
Money can do that to you.
That's true.
A little better gym, a little better training.
Schedule?
Yeah, there you go. Schedule,
New schedule?
New schedule, yeah. Once you get on a routine, coach, it works out. We
Yes.
saw your video this morning. That was terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, talk about routines.
Yeah, you got a weird
They was
routine.
mowing the lawn. I don't know what. He was just staring at nothing.
Weird routine.
There's a lady.
I told you.
actually, so
You're
she'll-
going to get murdered during your routine. We're going to find you on the side of the road.
Every
one day.
morning on the bike ride. I've been doing the bike ride now for 2 months, 3 months.
You're in it.
I'm in
Yeah,
it.
you are.
I'm in it. I'm in a routine.
Do you work out besides that?
I do not.
So you just do the biking?
Well, I mean,
He
I
bikes
work
to,
out
to his
on the
workout.
bike ride.
Oh, yeah, you work out outside in the outdoor thing.
For sure.
With all the other homeless people.
No, there's nobody there.
What is he doing? He's just staring.
It's a she.
It's
What is she
sleepwalking,
doing?
right?
It's a she, and it is a sleepwalker.
She's having a
got
night
Joshua.
terror.
We got Josh. We can ask Josh. Josh, everybody is hating on how good you look. I told him that I saw you last week.
Hating,
Whoa,
not
we're very close.
We are. You are very close.
And people think that you were on the sauce because of your physique. I told him I saw the biceps up close last week. They do stretch the shirt, but my man is just in shape. He's got himself a new schedule is what I blamed it on. Josh, good morning. How are you? Answer our poll question. Is Josh Pate on the sauce or not?
Yes or no?
Well, there's a ton of sauce around here. I just regret to inform you all of it is legal and bought at grocery stores. But yeah, there's sauce all over the place around here.
See, I told you to admit it.
He'd admit it,
No
yeah.
doubt about it.
He's got a GNC.
He's like, what did I
I
walk
work at
into?
GNC.
Josh, your biggest takeaway from SEC Media Days we will get to. But over the weekend, some news popped on the transfer portal. I think, and I watched your latest last night, I agree with you. I think that this is a good thing on the transfer portal of them now potentially taking off just the 1 year transfer, which looks like it's definitely going to happen. And then last week, the Big Ten student athletes who went to Kevin Warren's office, got to Warren's office and said, we want some of this media contract and we want better medical. I think this is going to kind of start to regulate the college football world. How do you think on that subject?
It's going to end up being a good thing. So when I say it's going to be a good thing, Jordy, you know this, but anyone who doesn't know me, you need to understand my position is as a college football traditionalist. So I've never been the one who's been sort of leading the march for these sorts of things. I've been the one saying, slow down, slow down, slow down. It's a slippery slope. But if you do what I call recalibrating your expectations, which is accounting for knowing that a certain amount of change is coming, then you can sort of reposition your thoughts. So at this point, here's where I'm at. I'm at a place where I want to just get wherever it is we're going as quickly as possible so that we can settle the sport down and we don't have multiple facets of it feeling like they're out of control, which is what it feels like right now. So think about these two headlines that came out over the weekend or over the last week. You had the first one, which is the NCAA is going to allow unlimited transfers. That sounds like a mess to a traditionalist, but it's really not because of what the second headline said, and that was Big Ten players meet with Big Ten commissioner demanding a revenue share of the new media rights deal, which also sounds like a mess until you consider what one does to the other. Where I think we're headed, ultimately, is a collective bargaining structure within college football. Right now, folks like me for a long time have thought, oh, what is the NCAA going to do? What kind of rules can they enforce to limit all this stuff that I don't like about the sport? Well, Jordy, that's not the answer anymore. It never was, but it especially won't be moving forward. Think about how powerless the NCAA is, and then think about what your real hope is. What your real hope is in the conferences, because the conferences still have the power, and that power is in those $100+ million per year per school revenue checks that they're going to get as part of their new media rights deals. Collective bargaining is coming. That's going to be the key, because when they sit down at the table with those players and they say, for $40,000 per year per scholarship player, which is only $3.4 million per year, by the way. They're getting $100 million per year per school as a basis of comparison. If they sit down at that table and they say, how about $40,000 a year guaranteed? I can assure you, in exchange for that, those players would gladly sign on to 2 or 3 year deals, which pretty much evaporates the transfer portal mess you have right now. And also think about this. Think about what it does to wipe out a lot of the illegal NIL inducement money that's out there right now. Because right now, if Jordy Culotta is coming out of high school as a 4-star tight end and his family's got no money, and I dangle $10,000 or $15,000 in front of you, that's a game changer for you and your family. But if you know that just by going to LSU, you're getting $40,000 per year guaranteed just because you're playing for LSU, because you're in the SEC, it doesn't completely negate the illegal inducement field out there, but it greatly reduces it because that amount of money doesn't mean what it used to mean. The NIL structure would still be there. If you're a superstar, you'll still sign on with Bose or you'll still sign on with Beats by Dre. But what it does is it wipes out the illegal inducement field. So I think collective bargaining is going to end up being sort of a blessing in disguise that solves a lot of our issues right now.
Did it drop the death nail into the NCAA? Officially?
Okay, officially, right. I think it did. I think what you saw when the NCAA, they proposed the unlimited transfer rule, it wasn't really the NCAA saying, we want players to be able to transfer an unlimited amount of times. What I took that as is the NCAA saying, here's our quote-unquote recommendation, which is code for, we know we can't enforce this, we're not going to bother with it. This is us signifying to the conferences, okay, you want to criticize us? You guys come up with an answer for it. Because if you come up with an answer for it, and you have that, for example, collective bargaining in place, at that point it won't matter what is and isn't allowed. If players voluntarily sign 2 or 3 year deals in exchange for your revenue share, all of a sudden it doesn't matter what the NCAA says, which is the world we're headed towards.
Always clear and concise explanation. Go find it for yourself. At Late Kick Josh is where you can find him on social media to keep up with the Sunday and Wednesday night hits that they're doing over there on YouTube. They're fantastic. Make sure you keep up with them over at Late Kick Josh. SEC Media Days last week, we heard from everybody. The first coach we heard from was Brian Kelly in LSU. What'd you take away of LSU's new representative?
Yeah, so I don't think I need to tell people down there, but I will anyway. You know, he sounds a little different than Ed Orgeron. Carries himself a little different than Ed Orgeron. Right. And what I liked is, you know, when they come in, they've got 3 players with them. You got some people from the school there. And it's just to a man and to a woman, everyone talks about structure, structure, structure. How much more structured things feel. And you don't have 10 different people walking around with 10 different visions of what the program is. Everyone is, as I say, singing from the same hymnal. So it doesn't mean that you won't have a bumpy 2022. In fact, I asked him about it. We got him one-on-one. I asked him about it. I said, you're trying to overturn a culture, and everyone keeps using that word down there. Well, by default, if you're ever trying to overturn a culture, you don't do that comfortably. That never goes smoothly, especially if you're dealing with an organization the size of a college football program like LSU with 18 to 22-year-old kids. So he said that. He said, look, everyone feels good right now, but we haven't played a game yet. When we play a game, that's when it'll start to get real. And regardless, here's the important part. He said, regardless of what happens this year, we're not going back. So it doesn't matter if we're 12-0 or we're 5-4 at some point in the year. We're not turning back. So there is a non-negotiable, and that's the way we do things. The negotiable part will be in the minds of each individual as to whether they want to go along with it. If they go along with it, they're what we need. And if they don't, they won't be here next year. And kind of said it with a straight face, and yeah, that's the way it is down there.
You had 14 sit-downs last week. You sat down with each individual SEC coach just to give you an idea of what your brand is doing right now. Remember, you can follow him at Late Kick Josh. What was your biggest takeaway after those conversations? Is that too broad of a question?
You know who stood out to me a little bit is Brian Harsin. Because Brian Harsin, I think the reality of him at Auburn is the most detached with whatever public perception is. Public perception is he's a dead man walking. Public perception is whatever they failed to do back in February, they will succeed in doing after he goes, whatever you think Auburn's going to go this year. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. Certainly that can happen. The over-under win total for Auburn is 6 for a reason. They're not expected to be a very good team. But when you just talk to Harsin, if you didn't know any of that, Jordy, if you had been on like a 9-month vacation and you didn't watch any college football and you just came in the room with me that day and you talked to him, you would think that guy has got Georgia or Alabama's roster. You would think he's coming off a 10-win season. And the reason is because he's not faking it. The guy really is that confident. Confidence is not the end-all, be-all. You can be confident and fail. People do it all the time. But there's this, to me at least, there's this perception out there that, people must be walking around like zombies at Auburn. They know what's coming. Just got to get these 12 more games out of the way. That's not the case at all there. And what I expect is maybe going to happen with Auburn is they play all these games at home early. I think they have 5 games before they ever go on the road. And they're talented enough. They've got one of the top 15 or so rosters in terms of raw talent in the country. I don't think it's quite as lost a cause as people believe. Now, if they lose either that Penn State game or that LSU game a couple weeks later, if they lose one of those early home games, that's when things could start to spiral a little bit on them because they've got a tough back half. But if they are, and we've seen Auburn do this before, if they get hot early, all of a sudden, you don't know what you don't know. You can convince yourself as a team, as a locker room, into thinking, we belong here. We're winning these games for a reason. So I would suggest to the rest of the conference, Penn State and LSU will have a lot to say about this. Clip Auburn early. If you want to get them out of the way, just go ahead and clip them early and be done with them.
Josh, last week the popular question when I would go on live hits, whether it was Radio Row or just people asking about the conference in general, the question was, who's the third best team? It seemed like it was very well recognized that Alabama was going to finish first in the West, Georgia was going to win the East, and then after that it was kind of a jumble of teams to figure out where you went to next. How do you answer that question? Who's the third best team in the league going into the season?
Well, I go Texas A&M, but I had this conversation a lot last week, and there was a lot of Arkansas love, which I understand. But the reason I go A&M is very simple, actually. I have to follow recruiting because of what my job is. And I know for the past couple of years, really, I've told people, if you'd watch A&M on the field, if you would watch them get off the bus, they've looked like Georgia and Alabama for 2 years. They've looked like LSU. They've looked like those teams for quite a while now. What they haven't had is the right guy throwing the ball. They have not had the ability to throw the ball the way they need to. I think the stat is like they've been 90th. They were 90th in the country last year in pass plays of 20 yards or more. So that's something they obviously have to improve on. But if they had that element, if they had enough explosivity in their passing game, if they had the right quarterback, that's all that stood between them and being able to compete for something serious for a couple of years. So the million-dollar question with them this year, unlike some other teams, is not overall roster. It's not depth. It's not talent level. They've got all that stuff. Their only question is if one of those three, I'm going to say three now, whether it's Haynes King or whether it's Max Johnson or maybe Connor Wegman, the true freshman, if one of those guys ends up playing B+ level football for them or better, they can contend. And even if they don't win the West, even if they lose at Alabama and Bama goes on to win it, as we've seen before, you don't have to win this conference to be in the playoff or be in the playoff hunt. So that's the one with the most top-end potential. Now, whether they end up being the third best team is a crapshoot. That's what football's all about. But I've been going A&M. Who have you gone with?
I went A&M ultimately, and the discussion was between, for me, it was LSU, Arkansas, and Kentucky was getting some love of what Mark Stoops has done on the eastern side. I can't really figure out the East on whether it's going to be Tennessee or Kentucky. Where do you kind of land on the eastern side of who will finish behind Tennessee, or behind Georgia?
Yeah, so there are a couple of interesting things about that. See, I don't discount Florida there. It's just that Florida can't afford a single injury, basically.
Yeah.
So if we were to be playing this in Xbox world where I can control injuries, I'd give Florida a little more love. I have to assume that injuries will happen there, and they don't have any depth to speak of. So if I'm going to assume that, then I would come down to the same two you talked about. The interesting thing about Kentucky is they, them and Utah are the first two teams, not in that order, but that's the first two teams that Florida plays, which is not the most attractive proposition because it's a brand new staff playing two of the most veteran staffs in college football, in Whittingham's Utah and Stoops' Kentucky. And the reason I mentioned that game with Kentucky is they could get an early leg up in the East. And then I think we all know they've got Georgia coming to them a little bit later on, I believe. And it's not the most fortuitous scheduling draw for Georgia. So I could see Kentucky doing that. But, that all comes down to Will Levis, too. And I know that a lot of people have had a lot to say about this mock draft hype that surrounds Will Levis. And I'm not one to sit here and make conclusions based off media day. But media day was the first time I personally have sat and talked one-on-one with Will Levis. And he sounded, I had one of our guys say this to me. He was echoing my thoughts. When Will Levis walked out of the room, one of our guys looked at me and said, "He sounds like he's in the NFL. He sounds like he's been in the NFL a couple of years." I said, "Yeah, he sure did." So I can tell you, Will Levis has had coaching in how to do the interview. Now, whether he also is going to back that up with his play on the field, obviously will answer our question for us. But I think Kentucky is interesting. But Tennessee, to me, is the wild card team in the entire conference, East or West. That's the wild card team in the entire conference. And they go to Pitt early, and they got Florida in week 4, so we'll learn about them in the first month.
Take me back to Florida real quick. Billy Napier, he's not going to win that event. He's not going to win media days just with his delivery, but his message is very strong. How has he fitting in Gainesville? How has he fit in Gainesville up to this point? And then having a chance to talk to him last week. What do you think about that with him leading the Gators?
It's a little bit of a mixed bag. The biggest concern early with Florida folks has obviously been recruiting, and I don't think that's shocking that a guy who has never been a head coach in the SEC came in from Louisiana and immediately didn't hit the ground running. This is not like Brent Venables coming into Oklahoma, where he had a ready-made recruiting structure, and all he had to do was sort of catch the ball in the air after Lincoln Riley tossed it up over his shoulder. That was infinitely easier. I'm not saying it's easy, but relatively speaking, it was a lot easier than what Napier inherited. Because if you think about this, Napier and his staff, they're actually having to build a recruiting infrastructure. Because shocking though it may be, Dan Mullen wasn't all that into that sort of thing. And so not only are they having to build it, they're having to do it for the first time. They're not coming in from another major program. Venables came from Clemson. It would help even if Napier was coming from there. Now, the advantage he does have is everyone you talk to. You guys know this, being in Louisiana. They'll tell you about his evaluation skills, his developmental skills. They didn't have many busts at all. In fact, they had a lot of diamond in the rough sort of players at Louisiana. It just takes time there. So that's the biggest piece of doubt I think people have had. But the thing about it is we're talking about this like he's been coaching for 4 years there. He hadn't even coached a game yet. But that's the nature of recruiting and the cycle and the way it works in the SEC. Every week feels like a year, and people have already drawn judgment on him. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, I've said it on the show a couple of times, let's give me 12 months, and let's see what we're talking about with him this time next year. Because that's the same way it is with Heupel at Tennessee. He came in late. You had a bunch of transfer portal exits. Give him a year. I know that's not popular to say in the SEC, but give me let's see where he is this time next year. I ultimately think Napier is going to be fine at Florida, but no, he's never going to be the guy who you look forward to at SEC Media Days.
I want you to tell the story of how you ghosted Kirby Smart last week and just with that, the feeling you had. We had a similar moment, but yours was to the head coach. Ours was the offensive line coach at LSU. But Kirby Smart last week. Kirby is to maybe when you're outside of Georgia, Josh, follow me on this. You almost want to hate him because he's so brash. He's in your face. He's jumping on the sidelines. He's tight with his players. All that, his personality, right? But if he was yours, you'd love him. But then last week, when you go follow him around room to room, you listen to what he has to say. You listen to what his vision is. It's hard not to like Kirby. Like, I mean, he's really a likable dude. Last week was a big week for him. He gets the $110 million extension. But he also, there were some comments coming out that last year he kind of rethought where he was in the process. Where do you evaluate Kirby after one championship in, a 10-year extension, and just the life he has for college football?
He's on his way to being the biggest name in the sport one day. Not right now. Nick Saban is still around, but Kirby's in his mid-40s. Think about that now. Yeah. So he's got, if he wants to, if he's scandal-free and if health isn't an issue, he's got 20-plus years left, if he wants to coach there. And he's already got a championship under his belt. He's already got one of the biggest recruiting powers in the country. He is at his alma mater. So in that perspective, he is trending towards being the biggest name in the sport. Now, last week, this is horrific now. It is the most embarrassed I've ever been. We had him, and I had Georgia come to me. I didn't have him scheduled. They came to me and said, if we bring him early, if we get here an hour before we're obligated to be here, could you pre-record him on your show? And I said, sure, I could. We'll make every concession we possibly can. So we had it set up for 7:45 a.m. That was Tuesday when that happened. Well, I go up to my hotel room Tuesday night. I fell asleep watching the All-Star game. And this has never happened to me. I never fall asleep without meaning to for the night and don't wake up. But I fell asleep watching the All-Star game, and I was so dead tired, I slept all the way through to 8:30 the next morning. So when I woke up, I knew, I looked at my phone, I had 42 missed calls, and I looked at my phone, and I knew this is not good. Yeah. This is, dare I say, it's even bad. I would go as far as to say it's bad. And I got down there, and Kirby was gone. Claude Felton, the SID there, he was gone. And I just put my hands over my face. I pulled the shirt up. I just walked around in shame. But then I was told, hey, he'll come back. He's agreed to come back in 2 hours. Wow. So I thought to myself, maybe Claude got down here early, scoped out the situation, and told Kirby we're going to do it later. Maybe Kirby doesn't know that I slept in on him. Maybe he doesn't know I ghosted him. But he peeked his head in the door. And he said, you awake now? You ready to do this thing? And I knew that I had been outed. And I told him, I said, you are a better man than me, because there's no way I would be here right now if I were you. And but he did the interview, and you're right. Yeah. You are right in what you say about him. Because I think Kirby Smart does not work in sound bites. If you just see clips of him, if you just see sound bites of him, he sounds like a jerk. He sounds arrogant. He rubs you the wrong way. You've got to get him in long form, and you got to be around him for a little while. If you're around him for a little while, you get that, oh, okay, so those little clips I saw, now I get the full context.
Right.
And, he may be the kind of guy for me, maybe he's not, but I realize now that stuff's kind of authentic. There's a genuine nature to it. That's just the way that guy is. That's the way he's wired, and truth be told, given the job he has, that's probably the way he has to be wired.
No doubt about it. No, I agree with you, man. Once you hear him speak for a little bit of extended time, you see the context of how and here's what you just can't argue, is that he's so passionate and loves it so much. And he can't hide it. He cannot hide it. Josh, a lot like media has changed 2 years ago. It was crazy to see SEC Media Days into what the event is now from just a media standpoint. 2 years from today, what do you think college football looks like when we go back to that event?
Oh, man. Well, the great unknown, obviously, will be Well, here's the first thing I'm waiting on. The first thing I'm waiting on is to find out what happens, ironically, with the Big Ten media deal, even though you asked me about the SEC. And the reason is because, like we talked about 10 minutes ago, when we get that Big Ten media deal and we find out where those games will air, more importantly, we find out how much money the Big Ten is going to be making, then we will also, I would assume 2 years from now, we will have realized whether conferences are willing to enter into those kind of collective bargaining negotiations with players. And if they have, then maybe not 2 years, but maybe 3 or 4 years down the road, maybe we're not talking about the transfer portal so much because it's calmed down. Players have voluntarily calmed it down in exchange for something. Maybe NIL is sort of a back burner issue because maybe the illegal inducement side of NIL is no longer at the forefront of the conversation because players are being compensated enough to where that kind of stuff doesn't matter so much anymore. Maybe we've got a little more continuity of roster. Maybe also, and Jordy, we're already seeing this, maybe we have players on average staying a little bit longer in college football because the fringe guys, not first round type guys, but guys that would be on the fringe, on the fence about going out for the draft, they're drawn back because they have enough guaranteed financial security that it doesn't behoove them to leave college early, even when people are advising against it. So I know it feels like the sport's in a state of flux, because it is. I know it feels like we're in the middle of the tornado right now, because we are. But eventually things die down, and eventually we'll have a new landscape. I just don't know that the situation is quite as dire for everyone, for the whole sport, as it seems. Now, here's what I can't do. I don't know how many Oregon State fans we have watching the show this morning, but I cannot look an Oregon State fan in the eye and tell them the same thing I can a Tennessee or a Michigan State fan. Because I don't know that it's going to be okay for Oregon State. I don't know what to say to a Colorado fan. I have no clue. I do know that their fate is totally out of their hands. But as for the SEC and Big Ten programs, you live in a different world. And I'll tell you this, the Big 12, whatever the Big 12 ends up being, talking to some people in our industry on the executive side, I think there's going to be enough money on the table for a third conference. Now, I'm not saying you and I are going to look at that conference and say just because they make a lot of money, they're the equivalent of the SEC and the Big 12 competitively. But I do think there's going to be enough money where a third conference, a third power conference can thrive. What it's going to be and who it's going to be, that's the jockeying for position that's happening behind the scenes right now.
Late Kick Josh is on social media everywhere. He hosts every Sunday and Thursday night, 7 o'clock Central Time on YouTube. Josh, you got a lot of fans in this part of the world, man, in this part of the country. You got a new logo. We see gear available. What's going on with the brand right now?
Everything that we ever could have wanted is going on. You and I got to talk. Let me tell you, people, I got to talk with Jordy. I talked to your king for about 30 minutes this past week. So he knows the story. But, there's a lot of parallel between what you guys do down there and what we've tried to do with our show. We came from different worlds, obviously, broadcast TV versus radio, but it's kind of the same deal. And you know as well as I do, to have a corporate partner step up. Corporate world's normally the one you're trying to get away from. For a corporate partner like CBS to step up and give you their resources and allow you to build on their platform, but also allow you to have ownership of your product, it's borderline unheard of. And that's what we have with Late Kick. And that's why we're able to operate it sort of the authentic way that we're able to. But man, we got everything we want. We got our own YouTube channel. We own that thing. The Late Kick YouTube channel is where you can find everything we do. The podcast feed, the Late Kick podcast feed, we own it. It's where you can find everything we do. They let us open our own merch store that we have 100% control of. It's not open right now because our audience sold it out so quick, so I'm going to have to reopen it this week. But if I tried to find things to complain about, I couldn't find anything right now.
Only a little company named CBS backing him. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. Josh, keep up the great work, bro. We appreciate what you do for us and what you do for our medium. And keep pumping out the great information, man. We appreciate you being there every Sunday and Thursday night.
I appreciate you having me, brher. Every one of you. Take care.
All right, man.
Show us the guns. Show us the guns.
All natural.
Show us
as
the
well.
arms.
As well.
Plus one on this morning. Sorry.
Later, bro. There he is. Josh Pate checking in this morning. Make sure you're following him at Late Kick Josh to keep up with the latest of what's happening over there. And remember, we're brought to you by Dead Soxy, our friends over at Dead Soxy. Check out the sock drawer here on the show, newest edition in
Look at
between
our
Katie
little
and
sock drawer.
I. If you're looking for dress socks, they got some athletic socks. Of course, the
14-year-old's
no
dream.
show
Stop
socks.
it, boy.
It's
not the way they wanted us to run the promo.
Deadsoxy.com, promo code Jordy. Save yourself up to 30% over there.
35%.
35%.
Yeah.
Over
40%.
at Deadsoxy. Why not? We'll make it 40.
45. No, it's 35. It's 35%.
Buy one, get one sock.
Deadsoxy.com. I saw Michael last week from Dead Soxy over at SEC
Mike.
Media Days.
Man,
Actually
he
put him in
actually
touch.
lengthened the name instead of shortened it more. Never seen that happen.
Mikey.
Mikey.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Yeah. Wait, who's the other one?
I put him in touch with Cole Kubelik.
Annie. I was like, do you like to be called Annie? No.
Actually, I hate it.
I don't like that at all.
Oh,
Too
Annie,
bad.
hush up
No,
over
I'm
there.
So anyway, you met Mike at Dead
I met Mike, put him in touch with Cole Kubelik.
That's great.
Over at Dead Soxy. And actually, we're going to talk to Cole. Cole and I do a show at the same time every day. He does one over in Birmingham on W Jocks Radio with McElroy, with Greg McElroy. And we're going to talk to Cole at some point and get his thoughts on that is one thing that I hate about going in the same time slot as Cole, is that he's such a fantastic guest. And when we were on the radio, he was actually in a different time slot, and we were able to have him on, I believe, every Thursday or every Friday morning we had him on when he was covering the SEC Network games. And he is, at least for my money, I think he's the best on-air television commentator, color man that there is. And I know he works the sideline, but if you listen to his radio show combined to listen to him work the sidelines and kind of the lead up to the show, he knows the game and is able to describe it to the listener as easy to digest as I think that the broadcast television has. So I want to get him in here at some point, and we'll probably either record it or go live outside of our normal recording hours of 7 to 9 a.m. just because he just can't do it because of his show. But sit down with him, video call, chat with him, just like we did with Josh there on kind of wrapping up SEC Media Days from his point of view, because the great thing about Cole is that he travels the conference both in season and out of season, kind of doing some off season work. But in season he's calling the games, so he's got relationship with the coaches. He knows the rosters, he knows the players, he knows the depth charts. He really knows the team, so he can give you a much more pointed view on other squads in the conference, including Auburn, who he had similar things to say about Brian Harsin as what Josh Pate just kind of alluded to on Harsin. And I'll say the same for Harsin. Harsin was there the last day we were there. He was there on Thursday morning, so we actually had kind of an extended time with him. We didn't leave until Heupel and Jimbo Fisher showed up from Texas A&M and Tennessee. We saw Harsin go through the full kind of car wash of SEC Media Day, and his opening statement in the big room, which is where kind of they debut all the coaches about really taking on last season, answering the question of kind of just what it spawned on campus for the feeling around him and the feeling around the football program. I kind of think that it did work out in his favor for at least him personally. You kind of feel like he's set to really benefit from shaking all that stuff out. Now he's got to win, but like Josh said, the first 5 weeks of the season, they're at Jordan Hare. They're at home the first 5 weeks of the season. So it gives you a really good opportunity to get comfortable at the beginning of the year. But we'll talk to Cole at some point over the next couple of days. We appreciate you being there here on this Monday morning. Know you got choices, and appreciate you starting your day with us. Make sure you hit that like button, share button, comment button, and stay subscribed here. Hit that subscription button. Mic'd Up is going to originate this afternoon. He'll have the same great content.
Gavin
over
Guidry
there
in studio.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
y'all might pass out in here then with the flea bomb.
I think
off.
I've done worse.
Yeah,
I think
right.
I'll be
You've
okay.
done worse than a flea bomb?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably in the last 24 hours.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Have a great Monday. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Cortez Hankton coming through here at some point.
Kinda
We will talk
testing.
to Coach Hank at some point this week and kind of wrap up our assistant chats. Would have been very cool. And remember, if you're looking to catch up with any of the assistants like Brad Davis, who was here last week, or Frank Wilson, who was in the week before, guys like Mike Denbrock and Matt House, that have come through here. Check them out, all of them. YouTube channel, Jordy Culotta Show. Subscribe there. All of our stuff brought back to you by RMB Builders. Hit the like button, share button, comment button. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.